with Scene TV. We're very excited to have all of you here today. My name is Sarah. I'm going to be helping with any technical and just being here as a co-facilitator. We're very excited to have Scene TV here with us today. I introduce Stella as well. You can wave and see. So just real quick, we're going to just introduce. But just a note, obviously, if you are not speaking at the time, just for sake of our facilitators, to just keep your mic muted. You are welcome to keep your video on if you'd like, but you also, if you want to keep that off, that's totally okay as well. But just so that we don't have any unneeded disruptions, we will please just try to keep microphones muted. So, as I was saying, we are from the African Climate Alliance today, who are the organizers of this workshop today as part of our Future Is campaign, which we're going to be getting into a little bit later. And just a little bit about African Climate Alliance. We're a youth-led grassroots movement-based organization acting and advocating for Afrocentric climate justice. For those who don't know, we'll pop our website, social media links into the chat, and we encourage you to, at any point, take a look at some of the work that we do. And yes, whilst we're predominantly based in South Africa, we're also doing work digitally as much as we can across different African countries, and also have many ambassadors representing in different African countries as well. So we're just going to start off with a real quick icebreaker, and then I'm going to pass over to Stella to introduce our speaker for today and the campaign a bit. So I need, let's see if it works. Volunteers. Does anybody want to volunteer for an unknown icebreaker? I know it can be a bit scary. What you'll need to do is be willing to put your camera on.
You can maybe just put up your hand if you're keen.
Yeah, put your hand up or put it in the chat. And okay, I see we have one. Sam, great. Keen, Tony, two. So just, even if we have just one more. Okay, that's fine. Okay, there we go. There we go. Tamara. Thank you, Tamara. So, okay, so Sam, Tamara, Tony, can you put your cameras on for us? Okay, awesome. So what we're going to do is we are going to play, some music, okay, to get us into the energy of today and get our creative juices flowing. I'm going to play a song, okay, and let's see who's going to start. Let's say, I see your hand, Tamara's up, so Tamara starts, okay? So come up with an action to the song that represents a climate justice movement, okay? So you could be at a protest, you could be, shouting, you could be planting a tree, okay? And you do it to the music, and then we all have to copy that action. Anybody else in the room who wants to put their camera on and join in on the fun, you're welcome to, or you can do so behind your, yeah, there we go, but behind your camera, the safety of your off camera, and keep dancing with us. Okay, so Tamara, you're gonna start, then pass to Sam, then pass to Tony, and then pass back to me. And then everybody in the room is going to copy what is done. Okay, are we ready? Let me get this song. Okay. There we go. All right, pass it on. Tamara, who are you passing it to? To Tony, let's go. Okay, you're passing it to Sam. Okay, to me.
Laging ininam.
Oh, Inam. Yes, there we go. Inam. Come on, Inam. Inam to Daisy. And then Inam to Mishak. Oh, Mishak gone. Okay, back to Inam. One, come on, Stella, take us one. Okay, awesome. Thank you so much, everyone. I hope we're feeling a little bit more smiley and energized. Thank you for indulging us. I'm passing to Stella.
Amazing. Thank you, Sarah. Yeah, I feel much more awake and alive and super, super excited for this session. I think that this has been something we have been wanting to create for a really long time. So it feels so amazing that the day is finally here. And I just wanted to give you a bit of a roadmap so that you know what to expect. We have just under 2 hours to spend together now. And basically the first part of the session after I've done a quick intro, we're going to head into the mobile journalism training, and that's going to be run by Nella Etkind from Scene TV, who will be with us just now. But yeah, that's going to be a really, really interactive, super exciting part of the session. And we're going to learn a whole lot of skills and really exciting tips and tricks for how to tell our stories and how to tell social and climate stories really well to get a lot of engagement and to get our messages across. So that's going to be really, really exciting. And then after the session with Nella, I'm going to come back onto your screens and we're going to chat a bit more about the Future Is campaign, which is actually the reason that we decided to collaborate with Scene today, because this is kind of like a pre-launch party, I guess you could say. We're launching the campaign called The Future Is in a few weeks on the 6th of May. And this campaign is really all about telling our stories and envisioning the futures that we want to create. So I'm going to be talking a little bit more about that and how you can take part using the skills you're going to learn today at the end. But yeah, first and foremost, we're going to hear from Scene TV and from Nella. But I just wanted to also make a quick note before we get into it that as part of Nella's session, we are going to be learning about how to create filters. So the kinds of filters you see used on social media. That's not everything she's going to cover, but it is a part of it. So if you would like to follow along for that specific part and learn how to build a filter, you do need to be on a laptop. And even if you're sharing a laptop with other people wherever you are, that's fine. But you also need to have Lens Studio downloaded. I did share the link earlier in an email, but I'm going to put the link in the chat again now in case you didn't get it earlier. Let me just find it in a second. Here we go. And then you can download it. It's free, but it's basically what we're going to be using to build filters. If you don't have a laptop accessible at the moment, don't worry. You're still definitely going to be able to participate in the session and learn a lot. And you'll obviously be able to follow along with the rest of us, but that's just if you do want to learn about building filters with Nella. So yeah, without further ado, I wanted to share a bit about Scene TV and Nella because those are our special guests today. So Scene TV is this really, really incredible organization that teaches people all about how to tell their own stories through a range of different immersive and engaging mobile journalism skills. And I've followed Scene TV for a long time and really admired their work just about how they bring all these stories that I wouldn't have come across otherwise to the fore, to my screen, because I'm usually doing it on my cell phone, and making these stories so fun, so interesting, and also very short and sweet, because we know that our attention spans are also quite limited these days. So to be able to get these really incredible stories from people across the world doing all kinds of different things. Hi, Nella, I see you popped into the room. I'm just introing Scene. Yeah, I think it's been such a joy to watch the work of Scene, and I really feel so strongly about it, which is why I wanted to invite them here today. And I'm so, so grateful that Nella responded and was keen. And for those of you who don't know, Nella Etkind is Scene's head of community, and you're going to be hearing from her in just a minute. But Nella is head of community at Scene and is in charge of driving brand partnerships, events, and training. And she has over 10 years of experience working within TV and the radio industry, and has previously produced 900 one-minute documentaries that spotlight global change makers who are positively impacting their communities, which is exactly what I was talking about earlier. These really amazing stories that I've come across online. And last year, actually, Nella trained 2,000 people in augmented reality and hundreds more in mobile journalism, from global newsrooms to NGOs, with an aim to help elevate the voices of unheard people and empower them. And Nella's also been a part of so many exciting partnerships and projects with people and organizations like Snapchat and COP28, as well as the United Nations and Oxfam, and recently sold out 5 events in 3 cities in South Africa, sharing the story of Ahmed, a Gazan content creator turned war journalist. And this really highlighted the extreme need for citizen journalism across every sector. So as you can hear, Nella is the perfect person to be with us today. I'm so, just lucky and grateful that you said yes, Nella. And I wanted to pass over to you. And if there are any questions before we get into it, maybe, you can ask in the chat, everybody. But otherwise, I will pass over to Nella. I hear somebody's mic is on. Maybe I can, I can't hear anyone. Asluma says, can't hear anyone. Asluma, let me reply the chat. I think audio is not connected. But yeah, let me pass to you, Nella, and I will address all tech in the chat. So long.
Wow, thank you so much for such a beautiful introduction. I'm going to share my screen with you. Just give me the thumbs up if all is shared.
Okay, perfect. I'll let you know.
All right. It's amazing to be here today. It's amazing to be with such an influential bunch of people. One of the big things I always say when it comes to these kinds of events is, although I'm the one who's presenting, one cannot ignore the collective knowledge in the room. And so I'm very grateful to be around you too. Is everything sharing? Can you see everything that you see?
I can see everything. I think it might not be in presenter mode yet, but I can see your screen.
Before I 100% get started, does it say? Before I 100% get started, I wanted to just make sure that those who are interested in participating in the augmented reality part of this have downloaded Lens Studio. And if you are going to be participating, I'm also just going to drop a link that I've just put in the chat now. And you will be able to, it says audio is not connected. Can everyone
hear
me?
That's for one of the other participants. You're perfect.
Cool. So you can start downloading. You can pick one headboard, and you will also see that there is a script, and then you'll be able to follow along with me there. I'm now going back.
Nella, 1 minute. I see the folder requires everybody to request access. Is that okay?
Oh, don't worry. Quick fix.
Cool.
Here you go. In fact, I think Siv, who is my colleague, is able to assist everyone on the call as well.
And then just quickly gift.
Just opened access.
Everyone
got
to
it?
use a phone. Let me see.
You're welcome to use a phone as well.
Yes, you're welcome to use a phone. It's just that it's probably going to be easier if you want to follow along for the augmented reality filter buildings that you have a laptop. But you obviously are welcome to be on the call, and we have lots of different ways for you to get involved in the campaign. So please do stay.
Amazing. I'm going to go back into presenter mode. Let me know if you can see the full screen or if it's in presenter mode.
I can currently see the full screen. Now it's in presenter mode.
Perfect.
Cool.
Let's start with a bang. Nobody cares about environmental stories. They just don't. I mean, I have a perfect example of when the world should have cared about environmental stories. I was in Cape Town in 2018, and the entire world was watching my city. LA was watching, the Middle East was watching, and they were all watching and waiting to see what happens when a city actually reaches day zero. Something horror movies are made out of. Your city runs out of water. Worse, perhaps your country might run out of water. I'm just letting my cat out the house. This is what happens when we work from home. And I mean, things like climate change, water scarcity, and climate injustice really should have been the biggest stories in the news, in the media. But big media companies really failed us on this. And I mean, this was not the first time that they failed. I mean, they're still failing. I heard about the flood in Dubai on TikTok this morning. I didn't get that from the news. How many people on this call, and I'm going to ask you to be a little interactive with me because I can't see your faces, so you can just do thumbs up emojis. How many people know about the flash floods that are happening right now in Kenya? I think they started a month or two ago. More than 500,000 people are displaced. And the wildfires in the Western Cape in Southern Africa, this is not good. This is not good. But there is an opportunity. There's a huge opportunity for us on this call today to talk about how we can really reach young people and how we can create real, tangible change. So, as Stella said, my name is Nella. I'm the head of community events and training here at SEEN. And SEEN's job is really to empower people, citizens, to tell their own stories using augmented reality or using their mobile phones, and to transform them to become everyday journalists or real journalists. We currently have 12 social media shows. Last year, we got over 1 billion views, and we currently have 7 million subscribers. Our producers put out over 1,000 stories every year. So when I say that environmental stories do not perform, I'm saying this from a place of understanding our analytics deeply. We have covered hundreds of stories. We have covered climate change stories, hundreds of climate change stories, and they just don't go viral because you're competing with things like the latest episode of Is It Cake? I'm not sure if anybody else is watching that show, but I'm pretty into it right now. You're competing with Stella's TikTok algorithm. You're competing with Civ, my colleagues, Reels, right? You're competing with Cynthia's mom's pictures on Facebook. It's just not on anybody's priority list. And that is because the stories that we're currently telling are super predictable. And I'm going to call on you again to thumbs up or thumbs down, but do you think this means that we should stop trying to tell stories about the environment? Absolutely not. It means we have to work so much harder to tell incredible stories on this topic, right? And so through the analytics that we have learned, I want to take you through 3 main points of how you can make your stories really shine. How everybody in this room, whether you are working as an individual or whether you're working for a company, whether you're on social media, or you just care about this topic a lot, 3 ways you can make your story shine. 1, focus on human stories, human narratives. And don't worry, we'll dive into each of these a little bit more. 2, focus on solutions, and solutions by young people too, right? And 3, taking stories into more of an interactive space, and maybe more of a gamified space if you're feeling playful, right? So let's talk about human stories. What do I mean when I say focusing on human stories? I mean first person accounts. I mean real, raw, and authentic stories. When I say human stories, I don't mean don't talk about droughts. I mean, let's hear from the person who's experiencing that drought. The best way to really get an understanding of the type of story I'm talking about is to just show you scenes show reel. It's not purely environmental, but these are the kinds of stories we like to tell, and you'll see why.
We were doing nothing wrong. I've never seen so many dead bodies. I'm a journalist. Don't touch me.
My story might seem sad, but
maybe it will save someone else's life.
Keep fighting. These people want you here. It's not your fault.
This is me being an African woman. I just want to be a part of the next generation that's going to make a change.
What should you never say to an assault survivor? Does violating will make you a terrorist?
Have you seen this?
Honestly, it's game changing.
It says here you will say it should say racist.
Don't protested the water.
My sense of expression is validated.
I am seen. I feel seen. We are seen.
You ain't seen nothing yet.
So really telling stories from individual narratives that we can connect to. This is what young people are interested in. And I'm going to say something that some people on the call might find obvious, but having trained thousands of people all over the world in this, please look and learn from your analytics, right? The best way to tell stories that your audience want to engage with is to listen to them. And we can see that from the numbers in our analytics. So you can open up your professional dashboards and really get a deeper understanding around the topics and themes that are relevant to you. Maybe what works for Scene isn't what works for you, right? So next, I want to talk about focusing on solutions, right? What do I mean when I say solutions? Well, solution-based storytelling really is when you have an issue and you have someone in society solving for that issue, finding a problem to make it better. One of the biggest obstacles that we have found in this space is that young people say that they have climate fatigue. They're constantly being told about the doom and gloom and the hopelessness, and we know the world is bad, but what are we going to do about it, right? So let's hear it from them. What are the solutions? We recently worked on this amazing project with Oxfam International. It was in 7 different countries in Africa, all speaking about how climate affects them in different ways. And we heard from people on the ground about what they are doing in their communities. The whole point is that I don't take it out of their hands. I will let them explain to you themselves through this video.
In this region, animals pay bills, but over 1 million of them have already died. Hi, I'm Timur, an Oxfam team member working in Ethiopia's Somali region. We are currently in our worst drought in 40 years. It's hard to fully explain how important livestock is to this community. People depend on animals for food. Children need animals for milk, and communities also sell animals for money. But in dry conditions, animals cannot survive. This crisis is impacting 8 million people in Ethiopia and many more across East Africa.
One of these communities' traditional methods of storing water is beer cuts. But now, the beer cuts are drying up and people are suffering.
My team at Oxfam is working to help. We are upgrading boreholes, which provides clean drinking water to over 8,000 people in the community.
Oxfam is also building animal traps so that our animals will also have water during droughts.
Climate change creates unexpected consequences. How have you been impacted?
one of the great things of what they did at the end of that video was actually a call to action, ending the video on a question, asking the audience to come and engage with the content. And I mean, this video was recorded on a phone and it was remotely directed from an entirely different country. And it got, along with 3 others that were part of the series, over 37 million impressions and 31.4 million reaches, which is huge. It means this isn't just an idea. This is what young people actually do want, right? And to build more on that, let's talk about what I mean when I say taking our stories into an interactive space. This is my favorite part as well. So I'm going to go back a couple slides. I mean, what we can see from these numbers, right, is that people were engaging with the content. And if you don't know how analytics and social media works in terms of boosting content, it really means that people would have had to like, comment, and share for this number of reaches to get this far. And so when I say young people don't just want to hear stories, they want to be a part of them, we need to really be thinking about unique and creative ways to start bringing them in, right? One of the ways that Scene does this is through mobile journalism. We like to call it Mojo. So if you hear me say Mojo, that's what I mean. This is creating stories using this guy. You all have one. You have the super tool already. It's in your pocket, I bet you. Or maybe you're joining the call from it, right? So we're talking about using a mobile phone or wearable technology. And this is to create news or featured content. And the reason why we do this is, one, incredibly accessible. We were able to create most of those videos from not being within the same country. 2, it's a lot cheaper than hiring a huge camera crew to film some guy in some region who doesn't know anything about it. And 3, you can do it all from your phone. I use CapCut. You can edit it from your phone, which means it's a lot quicker. It means it's real time. It means that Dubai video actually did its job that I saw on TikTok this morning. And you could be doing that kind of content too, right?
This phone has really helped.
I'm in the business of letting other people tell their own stories. And so this is Job. He is one of our favorite mojos here at Scene. We trained him at World Vision with World Vision International. And I'm going to let him explain to you a little bit more about what Mojo is.
This phone has really helped me tell stories in my community. I have been doing this mobile journalism for the past 3 years, and I have been telling stories like teenage pregnancy, a hunger crisis, and the COVID-19 lockdown. Mobile journalism means using a mobile phone to tell stories so that the world can know what is happening with the rapid settlement. I was first introduced to this mobile journalism in 2019.
Job, what's happening there?
Hello, Yusuf. I was young and I filmed about children playing in a child-friendly space. Now I am working with the World Vision communication team. I have learned very many skills like selfie styles, close-up, big close-up, wide, medium, and how to do interviews. It makes us gain confidence. It is a skill that will open our future brighter.
So, of course, your wide shots don't have to be as dramatic as what he chose, but I think it gives a good idea of how engaging Mojo can be if he's filming that video from a refugee camp, edited it himself, produced it, you know. So the diversity of narrative is not just needed in our media landscape, but it's really craved by young audiences. It's craved by kids in refugee camps. It's craved by teenagers at high schools. And it's also deeply, deeply needed. I mean, if more people were telling their story using their phones in Kenya, maybe more people on this call would have known about the severity of those floods, right? And for us at Scene, there's a certain type of engagement that we find has the most value. Of course, there are comments and likes. This is great. It boosts your content. But for us, it's really when somebody opens up their phone and opens their camera and responds to us that we know we have done our job in creating a conversation and continuing a conversation. And the way that we do this is through augmented reality. Maybe a bit of a big word to use. What I mean is Instagram filters. You know, that dog face filter, that the Snapchat filter. They don't just have to be silly and goofy. They can really be used as a method for storytelling and change. And this isn't just a kind of concept that we're thinking. 30 million people already, this was last year, these stats, are using our AR filters to tell stories. You will see, if you go onto our Scene Instagram page, you will see that at the end of our stories, we sometimes add the link to the filter. So straight after somebody else tells their story, you can jump on and tell yours, and then you could be featured. It creates this beautiful conversation. And we do this all through augmented reality because it's our belief that by 2025, 75% of the world will be using AR. That's next year, people. That's next year, right? So while we are planning for that, and I mean, I'm not saying you have to be wearing a headset today. I'm saying it's already on your phone. People are already using it, right? And so while that's in the back of our mind, we're thinking forward too. And we're thinking about what 2030 looks like. So say we all jump on this call in 2030 for a new, amazing catch-up organized by Stella and the team, right? And we're all wearing headsets. How would storytelling look then? How would we engage with these important narratives? Because it's important to boost our content right now, but it's also important to be thinking about how we can activate people 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now too, right? So we think that people will be moving in a more gamified space. People will be touching their surroundings. And so we started playing with AR, and I don't want to play all these videos. I'm just going to actually play the second video here, but we created an environmental show, 12-part series that's currently sitting on 100K subscribers, where we actually created AR filters and we allowed people to tell their stories about the change that they're making and how climate change is affecting them. And it's called First Person. Stella, I don't know if I'm allowed, but can I share this presentation with everybody afterwards?
Yes, please. That would be great. Thank you so much. Because then we can all watch the
yeah,
the
then you
videos
can
again.
watch all the other videos, but I do want to get in a sneaky extra part at the end. Another way was when we were in COP28. We went to COP28 last year, and I don't know if you know this, but it's actually illegal to protest there. And I mean, it's the environment, and we had a lot to protest about, right? And so we created an AR lens that helped educate people on climate impact and rich people's impact on climate change. I'm going to let Yusuf explain a little bit of it. But ultimately, because of augmented reality, we were able to disrupt the climate narrative and kind of bypass the rules of protesting.
Hey, it's Mark Zuckerberg here. That's an AR filter of Mark. Some people are blaming me and other billionaires for climate change.
Hello, Mark. I'm sorry to say, but I don't think they're wrong. People like you to take responsibility and pay up.
So you want me to pay more taxes?
Why not?
Hey, it's Yusuf Omar, and I'm dressing up as Mark Zuckerberg. See how people react at COP28. Why is everyone blaming us billionaires for a lot of the global warming? Maybe because you are.
You have been increasing a lot of capitalism, which is actually harming everyone. People are frustrated.
Have you ever been in a private jet? I don't believe I have. Yeah, well, speak to me when you have. Maybe you are the ones on that.
that was just a sassy way that we thought to get people speaking. And, you know, after the event, they sure were. And I want to just show you a small part of another one of my favorite projects that we worked on. And this project really was more than just a game. We thought, how could we create something that would have tangible impact? We already know people want to take pictures using their phones or take videos using their phones. What can we do with that? So we created this little guy called Albert, and he helped us collect actual data about the environment that goes to real scientists and can be used to create impact. Let me play this for you.
Danger. Now, citizen scientists have joined the fight against greed.
You cannot stop me.
And the world's future is in this guy's paws.
Whoa, mate, everyone has to do their part.
Guided by Albert, the cheeky koala, our immersive games take users on a quest through nature.
Follow me.
Help Albert get a drink by cleaning up your local rivers.
Look at all that nasty stuff in there.
And scan plants to hear their stories.
A humble old leaf.
The mighty trees are home to the 7 warriors.
Use my boomerang and hit down some honey.
But saving the planet is not just a game.
Let's take a photo of the trees and plants around us.
To finish each quest, players send Albert photos of natural ecosystems near them. 500,000 Snapchatters have already played the games in the first week of publishing alone, allowing Albert to share hundreds of images from South Africa, America, the UK, India, and Australia with scientists, giving them real-time data that's fast, free, and hyperlocal.
But don't just take...
I'm not going to play the whole video again, but you get the point. We're moving in a really exciting place for this kind of story, right? So if you take anything away from what I've spoken to about today, let's focus on the 3 things. Human stories, first-person narratives, emotional, raw, real, authentic. 2, solutions. We know that there is an environmental crisis. We know that there is a climate crisis. What are we going to do about it? I want to hear what you're doing. And 3, stories, taking stories into a more interactive place. And if you want, a gamified space. All right? I mean, I always say this, but raising awareness was honestly our parents' job and our grandparents' job. The time for raising awareness is over. It's time for us to speak up and start taking some action. So, for those who are brave enough, now it is your turn. Maybe I should open the floor to questions first, maybe 5 minutes of questions. I know I'm a little bit over time, so 5 minutes of questions. And then for those who are interested in staying the next part, we will teach you how to make your very own augmented reality.
I see. If you have a question that you can't say out loud, just pop it in the chat and I will read it out. I see Gift, you have your hand up. You're welcome to ask.
Okay, thank you so much. Great conversation so far. I'm enjoying and I'm learning a lot about this. Now, my question is, for us, we are using mobile phones right now. We were able to download the Rensted software. How is it going to be? Thank you.
I think you're welcome to follow along still. I'm sure that you will still learn things, and when you download it later, I'm sure you can still go ahead and create your own. I know it's a bit tricky because you can't really use your phone at the same time, but yeah, I think there's still a lot to be learned.
Yeah, I would definitely just take notes. I know this call is being recorded, and so if it's an option to even just cut down this part, we could send it to people afterwards. Also, cheeky side note, if you want, add me on LinkedIn and ask me your questions there and I can continue the conversation with you.
Amazing, thank you. I'll put your LinkedIn in the chat. And then Tony's asking, how often do you check your analytics, your social analytics?
Every day. every day. And then I would also review it at least once a week and just kind of look at what worked and what didn't. Why did this story perform when this story didn't? Why did this story perform this month and it's a similar topic, but it didn't perform as well a month later? And really investigating that will give you a good idea of what people want.
And then Tapelo, I see your hand was up.
Hi everyone, and hi to the facilitator. Thank you so much for this incredible information. Unfortunately, the software I downloaded here is busy, like just jamming my computer. But I'll try to work it out. So I just wanted to know, based on the presentation and what we've taken so far, how can this be used in a podcast? Since I'm running a podcast and it's much more based on like environmental and social issues, how then can this be more precisely used in a podcast? Thank you.
Just for clarity there, Stella, in a podcast?
Yes, using these kinds of tactics to share more information about a podcast.
I mean, these are really content tactics, not always video tactics. And so you would still engage your audience via social media. And I mean, a great way to do that would be to create activations through video on your Instagram or TikTok or whatever platform you're using, and then bring in those questions to your podcast, encouraging users to listen as well as watch.
That's a fantastic answer. Yeah, I fully agree. Does anybody else, maybe we can take one more question. If anybody else has anything they want to ask. We're going to have time later in the session to brainstorm how you can use all of this in the campaign coming up. But yeah, we'll have time to chat further then as well. I don't see any more hands or comments in the chat. So I think maybe we are good to move on.
All righty. I am now going to share my entire desktop background. So I'm sure you will all bear with me. So I have you at the top. I think you should be able to see yourself at the top there too. Everyone, we're going to go ahead and we're going to open our Lens Studio. I'm going to move slowly, but unfortunately, for the sake of time, I'm not going to be able to stop and ask questions. If you do want more of a one-on-one, more than happy to speak to Stella about a future training, or perhaps we can cut down this training a little shorter. I always find the best way at the beginning is really to just take notes on step by step. And there are also a lot of tutorials once you have these basics down. So, can we see my screen?
Yes, we can.
All righty. I can see you all as well. I'm just going to change my view on the side here so that you can see me. All righty. Okay, you should see two me's, one at the top and one here. So
Actually, we can see.
Starting off, I want to just explain what this space is. This is Lens Studio. This is how we create augmented reality. And this is specifically for Snapchat, right? The reason why I'm using this platform is if you're a beginner, it's definitely the easiest one to kind of start off on. But you can also use things like Spark, Meta Spark over there, next to my gratitude reminder, and also Effect House. So Meta Spark you would use on Instagram, and Effect House you would use on TikTok. This one specifically for Snapchat. So you'll be creating a Snapchat filter. All right. So next, I want to explain the spaces that we're going to be using. The first one is your scene hierarchy. And that is on this side over here. Next is the asset browser. In fact, let me use this analogy. Let's use a kitchen because it's almost supper time where I am in Cape Town. Your asset browser is like your fridge. This is where all your raw ingredients are. Your scene hierarchy is like your countertop. It's where you chop everything up and you put it all together. It's a little messy there. And then the last one is your inspector panel. So you might find it attached up here. When you open it, it's going to look like this. And your inspector panel is almost like your seasoning station, you know, your herbs and things. And this area, the preview, is your taste test. And of course, our main dish will always be on our scene. Okay? So to start off, any good cook, we need to bring in our ingredients. And so at the beginning of the call, Siv would have shared a Google Drive folder with you, and you should have downloaded a headboard. Just one will do the trick today. And you can just drag it right into your asset browser. Inside that folder, there is also a script that says tap3.js. That is a little bit of coding my incredible AR creator, head of AR, made for us today so that we can work through this really quickly. My tip to you at this level in your augmented reality career, you don't have to code. Ask someone else. There's amazing platforms like Discord, Snap AR, where you can just ask people for help, along with platforms like ChatGPT, where you could just ask for code. Don't need to think about that for now. Put a pin in it. We're going to head over to our kitchen counter, our scene hierarchy, and we're going to look for a face image. You can just type in face. Make sure that you're not searching in here, but you're actually clicking on the little plus icon on the side. And you just type in face. At the top should come up face image. You click
Nella,
on that.
is the code is a separate file to the headboard PNG?
Yes. It should be called tap3.
Okay, I don't think it's in the folder, but I'll get it from you afterwards.
All right, maybe Siv can also drop it in.
Okay,
It should be in there. Next, we're going to, so maybe we can just start taking notes as I build this lens out for us. So the reason why we selected a head binding lens is because we want it to be attached to our head when we move. And so I'm heading to face image and I'm going to texture. You'll see texture real big over here. And I'm going to drag. Well, let's actually just click in here. Copy one. That's our headboard. This is why you should always label things nicely. I didn't do that today. And we add it in there. I want to go back to my scene. And I want to make sure that I can see it. Here, you can see there's something funny and green on my face right here. That is definitely not how I want my filter to be looking. And so I'm going to work in my expected panel. And you can use these little icons that are right here at the top to adjust. Firstly, I'm going to click this one. I want to move it up. I click up and it should move on my head. I also want it a little bit bigger because I'm doing a presentation and you need to see what I'm doing. And so I'm clicking scale. I click the blue one because this scales everything together as opposed to scaling the top or the bottom. And I just pull it until it's the size that I want. I'm going to make it real big. All right. Now we have a headboard. When I move, it moves. I don't know how that would really engage young audiences. So maybe we should add some text. I'm heading back onto my countertop and I'm going to search text. All right. Pops up beautifully in our inspector panel. Maybe somebody could shout out what kind of question we should ask. Do you care about the environment? Does that work? Do you care about the environment? Okay, that is huge. and absolutely does not fit on my headboard. So first thing I'm going to do is just move it so that this is on the second level. Secondly, I have the option to adjust my font size. I'm still in my inspector panel, everyone. And so I'm going to make that 15. That's still really big. So I'm actually just going to move over into my scene. And I'm going to adjust the size here because it's just quicker. There we go. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Now, you'll see there's a bit of an issue with it being behind the board. And so we're going to use Dolly. This adjusts the perspective. So I can move it in front or behind. There we go. I also find it very difficult to see because it's like in white. So I want to go back into my inspector panel and I'm going to change the color. And I can just go right over here to color. And I'm going to change it to black. All right. Still sitting behind my board. Let's fix that. I'm going to work on my head binding. There we go. All right. Do you care about the environment? Still too big. So let's keep working until it's adjusted. Is everyone following so far? Do we have any other questions while I adjust to perfection? Scale it a little bit. I want to bring it down a little bit. Okay, we're getting somewhere. This is the thing about technology, right? There we go. All right. Do you care about the environment? Okay, I'm not going to perfect it. Otherwise, we're going to be here forever. But we have our question board and we have our question. You could stop at this point. This would be a really great way for your podcast. If you just put a question like this out of you saying, this is what we're going to be talking about on tomorrow's show. Like, use the lens and tell us what you think. You would be able to get audio of real people responding to you. But I am an overachiever and I want to know a lot more. And so let's ask 3 questions. What happens when we ask 3 questions? Okay, so we are going to go onto our text. You can either left click and duplicate it, or you can just say Command D or Control D. Brian, I see you have a question. I'm going to...
Brian, you can put your question in the chat and then we can maybe save it for the end.
On the second text, I'm going to make the question, what climate issue do you care about most? All right. You can see that it's real messy. There's a kind of like an overlay. This is because we should always just click on the side panel here on the one that we're working on at the time. And you can see, because I've already made the adjustments on the first one, the second question already is here. So let's do our third question. We're going to untick this one and we're going to tick this one. Last question, Stella, what should we say?
How can we take action? Something like that.
Yes. Can we take action? Sorry, that is bothering me. I just need to move it a little bit to the side there. Okay, how can we take action? Okay, now we have 3 questions. Very messy looking when we tick all of them at the same time. How can we make this more engaging? So earlier, you downloaded the Tap 3 script. We are now going to go back into our kitchen and bring it onto our chopping board. You can just drop it right there. You will see that it has the script there, so you can just double check that you have the correct one. And it says add values. This is a real nice, simple one. One button, add value. We have 3 values. We have 3 questions, 3 values. So if you replicate this at home, well, most of you are probably at home, but if you replicate this after the training, you could always add 5 questions, then you would have 5 values, or 10 questions, then you would have 10 values. We have 3. So I'm going to do 1, and you just cancel. 2, cancel. 3. That part was easy enough. Now we drag our question into the value that it is. This is so that you don't get confused about the order of your question if you specifically are asking them in a chronological way. So we didn't do that, but we do want our last question, our call to action, to be at the end. So text 1, text 0 goes to text 0, text 1 to text 1, and text 2 to text 2. All right. Now for the moment of truth. How many people are on this call? 71. In front of 71 people, let's see if our lens works. When I click, because we chose a tap, it should go to the next question. I'm clicking and I'm seeing all 3 of our questions. What this means is that when our user uses this lens, they can tap their phone screen and they will also be able to go to the next question. All right. And there's your lens. What you can do if you're playing at home is you can see in the top left corner, you can send to device and you can test it on your phone in real time, in real space, to see how it looks. Then you can go up here and publish your very first lens. Thank you.
Wow, I want to like laugh out loud. That was amazing.
We just made AR, baby.
I never knew that that's what it took to make a full tip. That's so amazing. Thank you for sharing such incredible insights. I know that we are over time. I want to ask, maybe there's 1 or 2 questions. If there's any technical issues, we are going to be sharing the recording, so you can follow along in your own time. And I will ask Nella for the presentation and everything. So if your question is around that, then yeah, that's probably the answer to it. But if there are any other questions around building the filter or anything that you want to ask Nella, maybe just put up your hand.
Yeah, I would just like to say thank you so much again for having me, Stella and Sarah. This is a really awesome opportunity. And I mean, I know that there's some really incredible people on this call as well. And so if you do want to hear more about it or learn how this could specifically apply to you at Scene, or maybe you think this is something that we should be teaching your organization how to do more of, I'm always around. The benefit of working from home is I'm always home. So feel free to just reach out and I can continue growing this. This is an issue that I'm very passionate about and I want to help make noise. I want to disrupt.
Absolutely. We're here for that too. And I think I just wanted to say thank you so much for being so generous with your time and insights, because I know that this is something that feels like really daunting a lot of the time. These tech kind of related storytelling techniques feel like something that's really inaccessible a lot of the time. And this felt so fun and so easy to understand. And I know that people are going to be making their own in their own time. So yeah, the chat is just people sharing gratitude, saying they love the session and can't wait to try it out. So yeah, Nella, that was incredible. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I don't
Thank
see
you
any
so much.
hands. But as Nella said, if you want to continue the conversation, LinkedIn's a great place. And if you have any questions that you want me to pass on to Nella, you can also obviously reach out to me or the team email, which we'll put in the chat. And then, yeah, we'll keep these conversations going. This is just the beginning. Amazing. Okay, I think now we're going to chat a little bit about the Future Is campaign. So I'm going to share my screen and then we'll see if you can see it. 1 second.
In the meantime, for those asking, we will discuss the data reimbursements and all other questions at the end, and we will definitely be sharing the presentation as well. Yeah, and just one more huge thanks to Nella and Scene.
Okay, can you all see my screen? Okay, fantastic. So yeah, Nella, I don't have words actually yet, but I feel so energized. I feel like I'm brimming with ideas and excitement, and seeing the way that you even just built the filter to probe those questions, probe even more questions in my own mind. So I can just see the power of how that can be used to really further our storytelling around environmental issues, as you shared. There's a lot of work to be done around this, but I think that this generation and the people in this room are the right people to take on this challenge. And if you're wondering why we invited Scene and Nella to this session, it's really to energize you all, get you all excited for our campaign that is launching in a few weeks called The Future Is. And yeah, we wanted to really equip you with skills and ideas to be able to engage with this campaign. It's going to be a digital campaign, and it's really all about reimagining what we want our futures to look like. So we obviously talk a lot about environmental justice and social justice at African Climate Alliance, but we truly believe that all of these issues are connected. So we don't just think about environmental issues. We always know that they are linked to social issues. We know that there's politics involved. We know that there are cultural issues involved. So we see these systems as completely connected. And so we're not just asking you to share about environmental futures, but really what more just collective futures look like for you. And this is what this campaign is all about. And I think why I wanted Nella and Scene to be here is to show you that it's not just about using text. It's really about getting your creative juices flowing and using video, using filters, using art, and using words, whatever medium speaks to you, to really tell us how you view your future and what you want the future to look like. So we know in South Africa, it's an election year, and it means that because it's an election year, it's a really, really important time for us to get in touch with what young people want, what we are advocating for. But it's not just about what's happening in South Africa. We know that across the continent, across the world, it is more important now than ever for young people to demand that their voices be heard, that we amplify our stories, and really get across to decision makers that what is happening, the status quo, is not what we want. We want to see meaningful change, positive change. And the start of this is really to envision what we want, because how can we say, this is what we want change, but not have a very clear vision for what we want that future to look like? So that's why we created this campaign. And as I mentioned earlier, we really believe that all of these different systems of oppression are connected. So we can't really talk about climate justice without also addressing things like racism, things like sexism, transphobia, classism, and ableism. All of these things are connected. So you don't have to think just about environmental issues. You can really expand the way you're thinking about the future all the way to include many different interlinking issues. So yeah, I think that The Future Is, the name of this campaign, is kind of, you can think about it as the start of a sentence. So if you think of the sentence as the future is, you need to fill in the blank. You need to tell us what the rest of that sentence would read. And that's going to be different for each one of you. And I think that's where the beauty of this campaign comes in. So that we're asking young people from across the continent to complete the sentence, to use the hashtag The Future Is, to share with us in whatever medium speaks to you about what your future, your ideal future looks like. And you might be wondering, why are we doing this? Why is this important? I've kind of touched on a few of these points, but just to break it down further, to show you that, as Nella was sharing, you might think, oh, it's just a filter, or oh, it's just a post on social media. But these stories carry. These stories have a lot of power. And as we were talking about earlier, there are so many things that we wouldn't have known about if it wasn't for somebody sharing online, for somebody using video, for somebody making a post. And so as much as it feels like a small action, it's really something that you don't even know who it's going to reach. And I think that is truly powerful. So the reason we are sharing these visions is because, one, we want to show that we have power as young people. 2, we want to create a mass message of voices and experiences of young people speaking truth to issues that are important to us. So we all might have a different focus that we care about. As I mentioned earlier, there are so many different ways to get involved, but all of them are connected. And that is why we are broadening this beyond just calling for climate justice, but what does it actually mean to call for climate justice? There are so many other issues within that. So 3rd, as I'm talking about now, we want to share these visions to show the connections between our struggles. And then in doing that, and it's the sense that I already get in the room today, we are sharing these messages to build a sense of community and solidarity in sharing about the issues that we are passionate about, because I think the more we share, the more we tell our stories, the more connected we feel to each other, and the stronger our movements become. And then lastly, it's really to amplify youth voices and encourage decision makers to give youth a real seat at the table. That means including young people in decisions that are made about them, for them. And that means really taking these visions into account when people are making policies and decisions that affect us. So these are the 5 big reasons that we created this campaign. It's not just something that we wanted to look cute or have posts about. It's really got weight to it. It's really something we believe in. And we think that this exercise of envisioning futures is such an important step in creating change. So that was a lot. I promise that soon we're going to get into breakout rooms and we're going to chat a bit more about ideas. What are you thinking about? What does your future look like? Do you think you want to use a filter to share about this? Are you thinking maybe you want to write a poem? Maybe you want to make a filter and recite your poem. There are so many different options. And it's really up to you to decide how you share. But before we get there, before we head into our space for sharing ideas, I just wanted to share how you can take part, because now I've been speaking for so long about what the campaign is and why we created it. But this is how you can take part. So there are 2 main ways. The first is that you can choose to submit your visions for the future to this form. I think maybe Sarah can share the link in the chat while I'm presenting. But we've created a form for you to submit your visions in whatever form that may take. And then we, as ACA, will post these on our social media and amplify your visions and tag you if you'd like to be tagged. And you'll see all the details in the form for how you can share your details with us. The second option is for you to use your own platforms to post photos, videos, poetry, filters, whatever the case may be, and tag us and use the hashtag #TheFutureIs so we can reshare. And you may already have your own platforms and not want to submit through the form. That's why we share this option. For example, Tapelo, if you have your podcast platform and you want to use that as a space to share your vision, then you can rather use that and tag us, and we can actually amplify what you're already doing, which is a great option. And then third is not really an option. It's just like what we hope you will consider. So I guess taking part is really also about making sure that you consider what is practically needed for the future you desire to be actualized. And this just means, what will it take to get there? You know, it's not just about having dreams. It's about, okay, I have this incredible vision for the future. What is the first step I can take? And I think this is particularly important for what we share in this campaign, because as Nella shared earlier, having a call to action, having a way that people can actually engage with you and be a part of the change that you are envisioning is really, really important for these messages to reach wider audiences and for people to feel like they can actually join your cause and be a part of something greater. So that is how you can take part. Don't worry if you don't have all of the links now. I will also send all of this information afterwards when we share the recording, and we will also be launching the campaign officially on the 6th of May. So you will also see that across our social media and website. So don't worry about screenshotting this right now, but I just wanted to share all these ways that you can participate. And if you want to start submitting through the form ahead of the campaign launch, you're also welcome to do so. But like I said, the official launch is on the 6th of May, and this is kind of just like a pre-launch party to get us all excited and energized. I think that is all I wanted to share. Maybe I'll take any questions before we head into breakout rooms. And in the breakout rooms, I just want you to all share ideas. Do you have visions for the future? Do you have ideas of how you want to share those and through what mediums? How do you want to take part in the campaign? What is the biggest lesson you learned from today's session? I'll pop all of those prompts in the chat. But yeah, does anybody have any questions before we get into that? I don't see any hands. Oh, Sam, yes, go ahead.
Stella, when we go into the breakout, do we just share like anything? Can we just start speaking, or do we have to wait for anyone to come in, or can we just start speaking and like introduce ourselves and start sharing?
You mean everybody to join the breakout room?
Or whenever we go into those rooms, do we wait for someone to come in, or do we just start sharing? Like, can we start like introducing and sharing our future and what we want?
Yeah, I think maybe wait for at least a few people to join the room, and then maybe sharing what your name is, where you're from, and then you can go into sharing. I'll share the prompts in the chat.
Cool. But we don't have to wait for any facilitators. We can just jump into it, right?
No. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
Cool. Are there any other questions? Ian, I see you're unmuted. I'm not sure if you have a question. Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I know sometimes it's a bit daunting when everyone's in the breakout room and nobody wants to be the first person to start. But it just takes one person to get the conversation going, and then I'm sure it's going to be a very fruitful conversation. Cool. Shall I start to?
Yes, I'm going to put the prompts in the chat for everybody.
Great. Enjoy the discussion, everybody. I'm now opening the rooms, and Stella is going to share them. You should receive a message to join the chat. Well, not join the chat, join the breakout room. And if anyone has any challenges with joining a breakout room, you can just message me privately or in the chat, and we'll try and assist you as best as possible. I see people are joining. I see some people who've just joined need to be assigned, so I'll be assigning you now as well. Sure, Mishak. Are you seeing a thing pop up that says that you need to be that you can join a room, or are you not seeing that? I'm going to try and add you now again.
Good evening. Good evening, everyone. Hope that you're all doing well. My name is Masego Mokwetsi, and I am a support facilitator at the African Climate Alliance. So we shared a couple of ideas in the breakout room. I'm so sorry about that.
No worries, we can still hear you. Otherwise, maybe we can, Mohale, would you like to share? Then we can go back to Masego.
Hello. Hello. Am I audible?
Yes, you are. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Okay. I'm Moale. I'm with the media team. Yamua, Kemakua Wamua Yamua in South Africa. I'm based in Limpopo, Mokopane. Yes. Apparently, for the youth, what we can empower, we are the youth. What I'm thinking is this. What is it that we should broadcast in the media? What should be broadcast? Not some people with their history or what. Only the youth. What are the youth struggling with? Meaning we have to empower the youth. Remember, if you empower the youth are the ones who will make sure that the others are okay because they are our parents. So if we focus on empowering the youth, like for example, those who have low qualifications, they don't even have maybe grade 12, like minimum requirements. How do they conduct even an interview? There must be awareness like that. We must give all the youths the platform to just voice out to say what is it that is blocking them from reaching their dreams. And then they will also, obviously, along the way, they will also express how they feel or what could be done. Then we can take it from there. Then what else should we broadcast in order to help them? Thank you.
Fantastic. Yes, I completely agree. It's all about building those skills that also allow other people or the young people to work and exist in new spaces and tell their own stories. And yeah, I think that will make the biggest difference too. Maseho, are you able to come off mute again?
Hey Stella, I'm so sorry about that. So thank you. So we spoke about a couple of ideas, and Dumi and Inam from our group mentioned that they would like to create short films and documentaries, and it would be really great to use that type of skill specifically within coal-affected communities. And Inam also mentioned that she would like to engage in storytelling and use writing as a skill to, advocate for climate justice, and she wants that level of versatility through filmmaking. And we also highlighted that we would like to practice climate justice, and also echoing the campaign through murals, poetry, monologues, and theater as well. So those are the ideas that we explored. Thank you so much.
That sounds so exciting. I cannot wait. I cannot wait to see what how you bring your ideas to life. Sorry. And yeah, you can see I have a massive smile.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Stella.
Pleasure. I see there are two things being shared in the chat. So Joshua from Kenya says, the future is carbon neutrality. It's time to put a price on carbon and end fossil fuel subsidies and finance. Stop building new coal power plants, shift the tax burden from income to carbon, from taxpayers to polluters, and make climate-related financial risk disclosures mandatory, and integrate the goal of carbon neutrality into all economic and fiscal decision-making. I love that, Joshua. And then Calvin also says, I'm looking forward to us forming an advocacy movement of journalists to address these issues. Yes, that sounds very exciting. I look forward to seeing how that plays out. And another Joshua from Kenya says, my vision is to conserve the environment and make mobile journalism at a higher level. Absolutely. I feel like you're the perfect person to start that movement and continue using the mobile journalism that you learned in this session to build awareness around those things too. Does anybody else have anything they want to share? Could be also a question if you have a question, or if you want to share your vision that you shared in your breakout room, please go ahead. Yes, Mogani, please go ahead.
Yeah, evening again. I think I have one vision, and I have a vision that some of our former leaders lived in, a United States of Africa, But I think that needs to be championed from an angle, and it needs to start somewhere. So I have a strong belief that everybody who is in this group comes from different formation, different organizations. But what is important that we need to have maybe a mechanism or a channel on how we commission our information, or either maybe commission our activities, maybe in solidarity or in programs where we are a network amongst each other, meaning we need to be commissioned or guided by one principle, you see, so that when we go back to our organizations, we know actually in essence what was the purpose, or what is the purpose of the training, where does it want to take us going forward, you see, because of what is important, what needs to happen, actually what this platform needs to do, it mustn't create a talk shop like our governments are creating, we need to create a platform where we will be in a position to execute, you see, where we'll be in a position to make governments adhere to legislations that are being infringed throughout Africa and throughout the world, you see. So, but what needs to happen, we need to commission these ideas and concept and these numbers and give them direction and head somewhere. If it's we are going to have an international day of action, let it be so, but we need it to be coordinated. How do we coordinate all these efforts? That's my take. Thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's all about building solidarity and seeing how we can come together, because as you were saying, if we're all just doing our own things, it's also not going to come across as a solidarity and a movement. It needs to come across as we have shared messages and shared vision. So I think that's also important, because as I've been hearing people share, I can already see the overlaps. And when I was in the breakout rooms, a lot of people were speaking about mining affected communities and the impacts of the climate crisis and of coal on mining affected communities. And I think we're already seeing this joint focus on certain issues. So I think that's where the power builds. So I completely agree with you, Bongani.
Yeah, and I think I can add there, there are different ways also of coordinating these actions. And I think, whether it's a campaign, for example, and is one type of coordinated effort. And I think that that's also our attempt in terms of making this, or having this meeting today, having this The Future Is campaign, and wanting more stories as part of that campaign, is a way of being, let's coordinate together under this vision of the future is, and then there are so many other ways of creating coordinated actions on the ground, or, whatever that might be. But just adding to the fact that I think this is a type of attempt at a coordinated action as well. I see Clara says, hi, from Kenya. My vision is to empower communities to actively participate in shaping a better tomorrow. Yes, absolutely. See, we have another hand from Mohale again.
Okay, in addition to Bongani Jonas's comment, I would like to say, okay, as we are meeting together, we are all from different organizations or schools. So I'm asking myself, we are together, because every time when we part ways, there must be something like, let's say in our country, we say a homework, like something that we'll do all of us, consistency. That, like, first of all, before we can deal with the matter, we first have to capacitate the people we're gonna work with. We have to interview them, like create a questionnaire. So which then after we've done that, we can come together, then we can decide on the comments that we received. Then we'll see which action plan should we take. Is it consistent, or maybe it will be in groups? It depends on the issues or challenges that will be shared on the comments, on the questionnaire or survey. Thank you.
Thank you.
I see Calvin, your hand's also up.
Thank you. My name is Kevin I'm a practicing journalist in Kenya. And my idea is that we come up with an advocacy movement where we come together as journalists across all the regions. As I've seen, we have journalists from several countries. And if we come together to form something like Pan-African movement to ensure that we advocate for these issues, it is going to be very instrumental for us, because some of us we come from regions where journalism is limited in terms of freedom, and we are still calling out for support. So maybe for those of you in the diaspora and other countries who have freedom when it comes to journalism, if we form a movement together so that we move as a team, we will get more empowerment and we'll be able to speak into these issues without fear, considering the fact that some of us in Kenya, we are limited in terms of media freedom and advocacy. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing that very important point. It is really something that all of us can take on board and consider, and especially in the safety and security of activists on the ground. So thank you. I see we have maybe one more hand, Queen.
Hi everyone, I hope everyone is doing all right. My name is Queen Munya from Zambia. I am a social media influencer. I like this initiative and I am willing to use my social media to help youths out there that really need to be heard. Trust me, there are a lot of stories in the background that really needs to be heard, and I am willing to help voice out these youths so that they can be heard. Thank you so much.
Amazing. We need more of that. We need people to use their platforms as a force for good. So thank you, Queen. I really appreciate it. And we look forward to you taking part in the campaign, hopefully. I see there's Shalene from Kenya also saying in the chat, my vision is to create awareness and drive action on climate change through accurate, impactful storytelling. As a journalist, I aim to highlight the science, impacts, and solutions surrounding climate change, empowering individuals and communities to take informed action. Yes, thank you, Shalene. That's a really great point. And a great reminder that when we share our stories, we need to be sharing from a place of honesty and authenticity, but also rooted in fact. We have the responsibility to be not sharing fake news, not sharing misinformation, because as I said earlier, we never know how far our stories are going to travel. So we have the responsibility to speak truthfully and honestly, and not kind of exaggerate things or lie on public platforms. And that's a very great reminder of the power that we have, both the responsibility to share honestly and also the power of our story to travel far and wide. Yeah, are there any other final thoughts or any questions before we bring the session to a close? I don't see any hands, but yeah, thank you so much, everybody, for joining. It's amazing to have seen so many of you in the Zoom room. It really made my day, made my week. And I'm really, really excited to see how you participate in this campaign with all your new skills. I see Gift, you have your hand up. Gift, are you? Oh, okay, cool. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you so much. I just want to say that this session was actually very interesting. But my question is, after this workshop, what should do? Are you able to get me? Are you able to?
You're breaking up a little bit. Would you mind asking your question in the chat? I think you might be asking about how we can continue after the session. Okay, maybe
I think I can get you Korea now.
Yes, we can hear you again.
Yes. Yeah, so I wanted to ask, like, after this workshop, what happens next to us who have attended, and also what should we expect out of this session? Because we don't want a situation whereby after this workshop nothing happens and then it dies naturally, but we should have to expect something conclusively that we are going to say, oh, okay, after this workshop, these are the activities lined up for us to participate. Thank you so much.
Yes, that's a great segue into what I was going to say. So Mohale basically shared earlier around this idea of homework. And so we want to share a few, I guess homework is a bit of a tricky word because some of us feel very negatively about homework because it reminds us of school, but it's less homework and more just things that you can do after this workshop to continue what we have practiced and started learning. So basically, as I've been saying, that this kind of session is a pre-launch of the campaign, The Future Is. And it is officially launching on the 6th of May. And basically, all of the visions that you have shared in this meeting, we want you to share as part of the campaign. So you can either submit them through the form, or you can share them on your own platforms, and you can tag us and use the hashtag #TheFutureIs, and we will reshare. And you can share all kinds of things. It doesn't just have to be text. It can be, as we said earlier, video filters, can be also text or some kind of written word about what you envision the future to be. Could be poetry, it could be a video of yourself. There are so many options. And basically, after the session, I will send you all an email. I will include the recording of the session. I will include Nella's presentation from earlier. I'll include the link to the folder that she was using for building the filters, as well as the link to the platform that she was using, so that you can actually watch that in your own time and build your own filter if you didn't get to earlier. And then also just all the information about how to take part in the campaign. So really the takeaway, the homework, the task that we want you to engage with after this is going to be taking part in the Future Is campaign. And hopefully, if you're watching all of our social medias, you will see all these messages coming out from all the people in this call. And we'll start to see this kind of, all these visions coming together and really get an understanding of how can we then take these messages throughout the year, use them in our different work that we are all engaged with, and bring these voices of young people to the fore to advocate for the change we want to see. So that is really the homework. And as I said, I will put this all in an email and share it with you afterwards, probably tomorrow, because it's quite late in South Africa already today. And then also, if you do need data reimbursement for this session, we will email the people who have attended over 70% of the session, and then we will share with you the process for data reimbursement. So yeah, please wait on an email from us if you have attended over 70% of the session, and we will reimburse you. Yeah, that is all that I have to share. Sarah, did I miss anything?
No, just huge thanks to everybody for being here today, for your time and attention. And when taking part in the campaign, they are meant, just to reiterate, that there are many different ways. And it doesn't have to be through that augmented reality filter that Nella's shared. It can be, really, it's whatever you feel comfortable, what you have access to. And so I'm very excited to see what is going to be coming out. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.
Have a good day. Have a good day. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.